Hello, everybody. My name is Marcus, and I'll be presenting JavaScript DOM, that's Document Object Model. So let's just read what that means real fast. So the Document Object Model is the data representation of the objects that comprise the structure and content of a document on the web. Okay, so that's the English part of it. We can get into the much more practical part, and you can see some examples and then know how to use this personally. Okay, so let's go. The first, my favorite DOM or something is the query selector. I just like the way it's simple, and I'll show us how to use it real fast. So I have three files here: JavaScript, HTML, and CSS file. I have a simple HTML file here that is linked to the CSS and the JavaScript. My script is at the bottom, and these are the other files, empty. So to show you how the query selector works, I'll just create two elements here. The first is hello world. The next is going to be a button that says click me, and I'm going to give them classes. So just name this first one. I'm going to give it a class of let's see, name. Okay, name is fine. While for the button, we'll give it a class of click. Okay, click works. So here, to get each of those elements, we can just say name is equals documents. Here is where we use the query selector, and the query selector, the way it works, you can put in the class or the ID. So class, just like you do in CSS, dot name, and that's it. So now let me confirm the class's name. It says cannot be declared block scope. Let's just say name hello. That works. Okay, so this gives you this element right here, and you can manipulate it to whatever you want. So let's get the button. Button is equals the document, the query selector, and it has a class of click, same way, and we've gotten that. And if you want to get, so this gets you the elements. If you want to get what's inside the element, you might need to add dot inner text or dot inner HTML. I prefer dot inner HTML. Let's just see an example. If we log this to the console.log, let's say name hello. That's a complicated variable name. Think of something else. I'm just trying not to delay here. Let's see. Okay, let's see if this works for us. Let's work for us. Oops, it says undefined. Let's see what's wrong with our code. Right, so here's what's wrong with our code. I think is the case sensitivity. So yeah, right. So let's do that again. Reload, and we have hello world, which is the inner HTML of the h1 tag or the dot name elements, which is the class, and that's that. Let's move on to the next item, which is using dot style. So to use the dot style, like if you want to style an element, it's not necessary you do it from the CSS. You can do it here from a JavaScript using your DOM. So to do that, what you just have to do is let me change this to text. Sorry. Okay, that's a better name. So we can have text dot style. That's not a good spelling of style. Dots. Okay, here we have an example: background color, equals let's say green. No, green is not good. Let's say the color right here. The color is black, so let's use I don't know, yellow might look good. Let's refresh that and see what happens. Okay, yellow is not bad. So you can see we're able to um, set a background color for this text element, which is the same thing as the h1 element, using the dot style. Okay, and we're able to set the background color to yellow. We can set the text itself to yellow. Let's see if that works. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, I think it's the case. Let's try that again. Right, so it's the case. A lot of case issues here in JavaScript. So now it's yellow. So that's how the dot style works really. So just pretty straightforward. Let's see what's next. You can check other possible combinations, the transform and so on. Just look it up online. Okay, there are more. Okay, just return this back to how it was, and let's give this blue. Okay, I think blue is better. So on the next one we have using class list. So class list gets a list of the usable classes defined already in, let's say, the CSS file, for example. So in our CSS file, let's create let's declare a style for a particular class. Okay, so let's call the class tests. That's the name of the class. And let's say for test we want the color of the elements to be yellow. We want the background color to be green, and then we want the border to be black, and let's increase this to 5 pixels. Okay, so this would normally work for an element that has a class of the test, but right now in our code we don't have any elements with that class. So from our JavaScript, what we can do to apply this is we can just add class list here, and then say.add, and then type in the name of the class in which we want to add to this element. Okay, so the class name is test, so I'll just type in test here and save it. So let's refresh that and let's see what happens. Okay, so you can see the styling that we declared has been applied to these elements. Pretty cool, right? So that's how class works. So you can just apply your styling from a different probably you want an element to switch styles at a particular stage in the web or something, so you can just use this to switch around, and that's pretty much it. Event listeners is the next. So let's look into that real quick. That's why we have the button. So hold on. Okay, so we have button that's add event listener. The event listener takes two parameters. The first one is the kind of events. In this scenario we're using a click, and thereafter I don't know why this always misspells function, and thereafter it's going to take a function. Okay, so in this case let's just say what we want to happen in our function is test that we've previously defined. So what we are saying here is when you click, what happened earlier on when we loaded the page should happen after you make the click. It shouldn't just happen whenever you load the page. So let's just refresh this and you can see nothing has happened until we click, and then you can see this has happened. If I click again, nothing happens. We can change this to toggle for the effect to go off and on. So sorry about that. So if I refresh this, and then toggle, you can see how that works. So you can think of how you can implement that in your code, and it's going to work for you. So the last one is using input. So I'm just going to do input output real fast, because I don't know how long this video is supposed to be. So let's add something new to our code. Let's add an input tag here, and let's add an ID instead of a class, and let's call it should I call it input? Let me just say year. Okay, let's just say we're getting a year right here, and then here we'll just say a p tag. Right, so we'll just say the p tag has an ID of ID of outputs. Okay, so we want to input a year right here, and then once we click this button, we want it to show here. That's just what we want to do. So the input has another element known as value, so I can predefine the value to be 2000, and let's see what happens. Refresh this. You can see 2000 is in already, but I'm not going to set a value, but I'll let you know what this value means later. So let's come to our JavaScript and let's get the value. So you can say const let's just say current year. I wanted to write that short, but it doesn't look good. So we can just say document dot create selector, then we can get it by ID. This is how you write your ID, and year, and then semicolon, gives us this, and then let me just confirm the ID real fast here. Okay, and then if you add here dot value, what happens is it gets the value which would be sent in from the box. Okay, so for that to happen, when they make a click, we should put it inside this function which we have already. So what happens is I can just console.log this. Let's see, current year. Let's just see what happens. Okay, so let's refresh this. Let me see. I didn't save this. Okay, so let's say 2000. Click, and you can see it's been logged here. So it's getting this value and logging it for me. So I want to pass the value out here to show below. There's a p tag below all of this. I want it to show in the p tag. So I can use .inner HTML. I can use .inner text. I prefer inner HTML though. So what I can do here is this. I can just say document query selector. The ID for that is output, so I'll just say output, and I can just say inner equals not you equals current year, which is the value from above. You can see it here, and we can put a semicolon there, and then we can refresh this. Let's say 2000, and you can see it here. Okay, so what happens is anything you put in here, it just sends it here, and the previous effect we also set for this guy also is running after everything has gone through, which is this one. If I remove it, or let me just comment it out instead. Refresh this, 19. You can see we can try my name, Marcus, and you can see it returns it. So that's pretty much the basics of DOM manipulation that you're going to be needing. You can research more. Actually, there's a lot more to learn, but these are just the basics. So you can ask questions on the discussion group, and just let me know what you think about this presentation. My name is Marcus, and thank you very much for watching.